All right, hello everyone. My name is forecaster Jack Sillin, and we'll be taking a look at the tropical Atlantic here in this video today. So this is the second weekly tropical weather discussion. We're going to be doing these every week throughout the rest of hurricane season and posting them to our YouTube channel and the blog over at blog.weather.us. So stay tuned here. Every Monday morning, we'll start your week off with a little bit of tropical weather insight to get you prepared for what's coming down the line. Thankfully, this week we don't have a whole lot to talk about. Tropical Atlantic, as you can see here in this satellite image, is pretty much dead quiet. We have a few thunderstorms here in northern Colombia, the far southern Caribbean Sea, but they're unlikely to develop into any sort of tropical cyclone. We have a few more thunderstorms here off the South Carolina coast. Those are associated with an upper level low that is digging south into the southern Appalachians. So not expecting anything in the way of tropical development there. And then the last little feature here that's of any note is this little tropical wave sort of embedded within the intertropical convergence zone, which is this sort of band of clouds and showers that circles the globe. Now just north of the equator, given that we're in the near the summer solstice. So there's a little bit of a disturbance embedded within that intertropical convergence zone, but very unlikely that that develops into any sort of tropical system. So in the near term, things are pretty quiet. We don't have a whole lot to worry about. Let's take a look at this. We'll start out with the deterministic ECMWF forecast here. So this is the normal ECMWF model we talk about. You can see here's the upper level low that's dropping into the Carolinas. So that is a non-tropical system. So we'll get plenty of showers and thunderstorms, some breezy conditions along the Carolina coast, maybe a little bit of splash over, plenty of heavy rain. So it might look and feel a lot like a tropical storm if you're down in this part of the coastline, but it's not actually a tropical storm. And if you want to read more about what actually makes a tropical storm, we have a blog post explaining just that, and I'll put the link in the description below this video. So there's that one system. If we sort of move along, we can see that it's going to dawdle over the Carolinas for a pretty good chunk of time. Basically, the rest of this week is going to be sitting there and dropping rain. So plenty of flood concerns, especially inland in the mountains, more flash flooding up there. But otherwise, not expecting anything from a tropical weather perspective. After that system sort of dies out, you can see we have this giant ridge setting up here north of the Greater Antilles, rather northeast of the Greater Antilles, due north of the Lesser Antilles. So if there were to be any storms developing, they'd move sort of generally west, but really there is absolutely no sign. If we flip down to the precipitable water here, there's absolutely no sign of a tropical system here. You can see that there's this plume of relatively dry air that's actually coming off of Africa, the Sahara Desert, sending a big plume of dust across the Atlantic. That's a common thing to happen early in the season. We call it the Saharan air layer, and basically that's going to kill off any tropical cyclones that attempt to develop. So here's the band of moisture associated with that intertropical convergence zone I talked about earlier. That's basically going to be sitting sort of a little bit too far south for development. And north of that, we're basically closed for business with that Saharan air layer. As far as, where could I see maybe a tropical storm developing? Man, it's really hard to find any spot here. Maybe we might look for some subtropical something up here later in the sort of 7 to 10 day period, but otherwise, this is a really unfavorable pattern for any type of tropical development. So basically, we can rest easy for at least the next week or so. Who knows how long this pattern will last, and I'll talk about that a little bit in a minute. But to get another look here, this is the ECMWF ensembles, and we'll be able to see if they, to what extent they think we're going to get a tropical cyclone here. This is the spaghettios, right? So when you see the spaghettios, that means that there might be a low pressure system developing. And basically, as we step forward, look, there's absolutely nothing, right? We have a few rogue cyclones up here near Newfoundland, but those would be likely non-tropical in nature. and even moving into like the 10-day period, we have all of one, maybe two ensemble members trying to put a weak tropical depression in the Gulf 10 days from now. But really, this is a 2 out of 51 chance. That's pretty small. So all that to say, even again in the as we start to approach the 15-day period, it's basically nothing. No issues in the tropical Atlantic, at least for the next week, possibly, most likely to the next 2 weeks. Not looking for a whole lot of activity here. And the reason for this is we have, this is again our map showing sort of large scale areas of upward motion, downward motion. So the warm colors here are large scale downward motion, large scale sinking. So that's hostile tropical cyclone development. And you can see that over the Atlantic right here from right around 60 west, say, is the center point of the North Atlantic. You can see we are in this very strong sinking motion sort of zone. These are waves, low frequency waves that propagate around the atmosphere. I won't explain in excruciating detail what exactly these waves are and what causes them. Maybe we'll do a separate video on that later. But anyways, you can see that through at least the end of this week, the tropical Atlantic mired in this sinking wave, the sinking branch of the wave, rather. There's a little bit of rising motion that's going to be propagating down, right? So this chart is time on the y-axis. So this is today, right at the top of the graph, and then time goes on as you move down. So here's a little bit of rising motion currently in the Central Pacific. It's going to be drifting into the Eastern Pacific right around the end of this week, and then it might make it into the Atlantic by next week. Could we see another tropical cyclone develop, say, right around the 25th of June, as that rising motion wave gradually propagates east into the Atlantic? Yeah, I think that's possible, but again, we're talking 10 plus days, so absolutely nothing to be worried about right now. But that would be probably the first time that we might look for something to develop. Right now, it looks like this configuration of these rising and sinking motion waves really more favorable for a tropical cyclone to develop in the Eastern Pacific. So we'll be watching for that. But otherwise, enjoy your break from having to worry about tropical weather. It's unlikely to continue for very long. There's unlikely to be a whole lot more of these videos this season where I'm able to say, carry on, nothing to worry about here. Enjoy it while it lasts. Suffice to say that this is likely to be an active season. So take this time, these quiet times here in June, to make sure that you're prepared, ready that, in the event that we do a video in the not so distant future that says, hey, look, we might have something more pressing to talk about, that you're ready to take the actions you need to keep your family safe. So take a minute this week to review your hurricane plans. Make sure that you've tweaked them to make adjustments, in case the new restrictions and stuff surrounding the coronavirus is, it might not be as easy to evacuate to a relative's house inland, for example. It might not be as desirable to seek a communal hurricane shelter. Again, I don't know, that risk-reward ratio is way beyond my purview to tell you what you should and shouldn't do, but you should at least think about it and make those decisions with your family's needs in mind. So with that, I will sign off here, and I'll be back this time next week with another look at the tropical Atlantic. Until then, have a great week. Thanks for watching.